Welcome back to the Tech Startup Network podcast. Joining me today is Shweta Agrawal, who's the Chief Product Officer of Boston New Technology. Shweta, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Ashley, for having me. I'm super excited to dive in more.
Yes, I'm very excited to have you here. And before we get into what will be a very fun conversation, I'd love to have you share with our listeners more about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, thank you. So I am Shweta Agrawal. I'm in Boston. For more than 15 plus years, I have been working in 500 Fortune companies to mid to small startups. My journey, actually, it's fun story. I'm going to tell really quickly. When
Yeah.
I was growing up, I was like, I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. I was so fascinated. I'm like, I'm going to help and save people's life. But I realized I cannot stand blood. I get dizzy. And I was like, I can't be a doctor. That's when I was trying to figure out what I need to do with my life, as kid life crisis. I did undergrad in my computer science, and I was like, I don't want to sit behind the laptop. I'm more of, go and talk to people and solve the problems. And, just like that, being in the crowd, that helped me to realize that how I can merge the product and tech. So, worked in the 500 Fortune to mid startup companies, also launched multi-million dollars of product. I'm in the product tech AI startup space, also startup advisor to tons of founders on different stages, whether it's early, mid, and growth. Have been helping them on the go-to-market, product market fit, also part of different organizations, also the lead organizer at Techstars Startup Boston, which is happening on May 1st, bringing together the founders and engineers and product teams together. So super excited to build that platform for the technologists and the product and the builders.
Oh, I love it. And I love that you are very much multi-passionate. Like you have your hands in so many different roles, so many different opportunities, and it's just really inspiring to hear about all of the exciting things that you have going on for the local tech community.
Yeah, thank you. People ask me, Ashley, I'm involved in so many different things. I'm with, so for example, I hosted this unconference for product leaders. We have 220 product leaders coming together. Then the next day I'm into tech. The next day I'm in startups. So I'm in, doing different areas. And people ask me, like, do you sleep? I'm like, I don't sleep. I don't get time to sleep because, and the real reason, I love when I see the impact, I think that's what gets me going because when I see the founder who started, early stage, right? When I see the founders getting those first paid client or paid customers, right? That milestone when they hit, someone who's raising money, when they achieve that, whether, someone's looking for a job and they find the job. So I also help students. I work with underrepresented founders. I help female founders and women who are in career in tech and product. I help. They are my mentees. I'm advisor to them. So last year I had 5 mentees, student mentees, and they were trying to get into AI and ML. And like right now AI is moving so fast, and they were undergrad students and they were like trying to find a job, and they're like, there are no entry level jobs. They want you 5 years of
Yeah.
experience. Like, how are you going to get those, right? And we were like, I helped them like through 6 to 8 months, and every one of every mentee of mine, after 8 months they got multiple offers. So when you see those impact, when you see that in any way, if I can help them achieve what they want, I think that helps me to get going. And that's why I love this. Every day is different for me, so super grateful about that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And since product is your total zone of genius, I'd love to ask you about that because you mentioned one of the things that you help founders with is finding that product market fit. And so this is such a broad question, but I'd love to have you share your advice on that with like a newer founder who's building a product and they want to see if it actually makes sense for the market. What's something that you would advise for them to do?
Yeah, this is a great question. And I think, and I have seen the trend. There are many founders who are building, and I'm going to give a couple of examples and a couple of points. So, right now, many founders early stage, and they were like, oh, whether they're like tech and non-tech, even the tech founders, they are super scared. They're like, AI is here now, everyone can code, everyone can build a prototype and launch products. Like, should I be even thinking about building what I'm building? And I'm like, yes, don't get scared just because AI is there. It's should they should switch the mindset. AI is, you have that tool to use it, and how you can move faster, right? How you can develop something. So that's one thing. The other thing I've seen with the founders for the product market fit, they have solutions already, and now they're trying to find the problem. So it's rather than like, oh, I have the solutions, how can I fit, like it's a circle in a square hole, right? And it's that doesn't work that way. I've also seen in the product market fit, um, founders have not been talking to lots of customers. So I have seen, for example, this one founder, they have full product ready. Ashley, I saw like they had website and they have apps. It was completely ready. The MVP was ready. I'm like, wow, you have this. Like, how many customers do you have when you started? And they were like, I started last month. And I'm like, okay, so have you spoken to how many customers you have spoken to? And they were like, none. So that's not product market fit. And still till date, they don't have a single customer. The product market fit has not reached. So what I mean by that, if you are looking to launch something in the market, take the time to really go and talk to customers.
Mhm.
Even then, I'm seeing founders are realizing what I thought the customers are. Like, for example, if it's B2B, you might, when you start interviewing, they will realize your target audience is not even B2B, it's B2C. And I have seen that
Mhm.
one founder, they spent a whole year talking to the B2B, enterprises, large scale companies. But then in the second year, they were like, oh, I'm building for B2C. And then they all of a sudden they have customers. So early on, you have to spend, I would suggest, spend time to talk to the customers or the audiences that you think most of the time, and then go and build something rather than the other way around.
Yeah, and I mean, you hit the nail on the head with that. It's like you don't want to spend all of this time, money, resources building what you think the market wants just to several months or even a year or so later find out this actually isn't what anyone wants. So I love what you shared there about just the importance of being proactive with it and doing it early.
Doing it early, and I will give another example. So like, as you spoke, as you mentioned, Ashley, there are like many bootstrapping founders, right? Like, whether I have seen someone who's like already working and they have the side hustle and they want to build their companies, and someone who's full time on their startups and they're bootstrapping. What I've seen is, they invest a lot of money in the marketing itself early on, right?
Mhm.
When they don't have the product itself, right? When they don't have those, where people can, yes, get your letter of intent, get your signups and waiting list, all those are good. And some of the vanity metrics, people like, oh, I have this, if you have the website, people are having like, I have 1 million views coming in, but there's no conversion rate, right?
Mhm.
Don't spend a lot of money in marketing itself. I have seen founders making that mistake. They hired a marketing and the sales team early on when there was no product, and they were like, I burnt all my cash, which I had already. So be very mindful when you're early on, even if you're looking for, if you're a solo founder, I would say, see who you want to bring the co-founder with you,
Mhm.
who will can vibe well with you, like can align with what you're doing, and then start thinking of building the team down the line. But like, be very scrappy, just like use whatever you can with all the tools you have right now.
Yes, absolutely. And that was another great point that you brought up is to like before you even think about marketing and sales, first of all, have that product. But I also think it's important for founders to remember that once they have a product, that doesn't mean the job is done. They then need to think about going to market. And so I know that's your other specialty as well as go to market strategy. And so that's what I'd love to hear your advice on now is once a founder knows that they have a product that the market really wants, how do they actually get out into the world and in front of the people who really need it?
That's amazing. And I love talking about this. I can keep on going on go to market because this is such an amazing, important, I would say, area for the founders. So I'll give an example. So I work with founders from not only in Boston, but I'm global, right? So I have like founders from Silicon Valley, from New York, London, Japan, Africa. So I've seen different markets. And so, for example, I was talking to founders who are in Japan. They're trying to reach, they want their business to expand in the US, right? I was talking to someone who was in Germany and they want to expand in the US market. And the thing is, first, I would say understanding, and it's something called localization. What is it that if someone trying to expand in Boston or let's say in the US market, will they have the same, if the user, as a user in the US market, will I still want to use your product or are you customizing it, right? The pricing. So it goes in different areas. The example I'm giving from the Japanese founders, um, they had the same pricing what was there, but it might not be relevant in the US market, right?
Mhm.
The features they are planning to launch might not be the same. I think the mistakes founders make is not really having, you need to know, okay, I'll put it in another way. If you're trying to expand into another market, which is new to you, if someone is in the US and they're trying to expand in, let's say, in India or in London, they really need to understand the market there. Maybe have a partner in that market because the need might be different, right? And that's where I'm thinking founders think like, okay, I have this product which is so popular in the US, I can just go and launch it there in other markets, right? But it might not be the same. You have, and another thing I would say, sometimes there might be language barriers as well. So how, and like the user needs are different as well, right? How can you really tap into it? If you don't understand those market, it will be really hard for you to build your business, right? To your other question, you mentioned like, what advice do I have on the marketing? I would say, one thing I've seen founders making mistakes or something they should look into, initially the founders, when they have a product, right, they're getting traction, they have in one market, I would say, like whether it's like in the US or any market where you are launching your product, if they're getting lots of traction, you have paid clients, customers, you have, um, your brand is known. But what happens is it's 6 months, right? They think that, oh, now I'm ready to launch in another market. But that's not right. It's too early on as well. It's not right. Take your time, tap into and do your research, because something that is, working in the US might not be working in London or India or Singapore, right? So I would say take time, do your market research rather than just going in. The second thing I would say is, you need money, right, to launch in a bigger market. And I've seen founders making that mistake. They use all the resources and efforts just to launch in a market which is, other thing I would say is, you're launching in a new market. I have seen founders not doing the research on the competitor side. So there might be competitors in, let's say, in London, right? They have not done the research. If you're launching there, then you have a competition already. What you're going to change in your product, that also matters, and it will take time and effort. So there are different things I would say that founders have to think when they are going to different markets.
I love that. I mean, just that advice about knowing the market. I mean, that's huge. What works in the US isn't going to work in London and vice versa. So I love that reminder to just be mindful of what the landscape is in a different region of the world and know what you might need to change. But also the second point that you made about competitors and really having a pulse on what others in the space are doing, because that might change what you do or how you show up in the market yourself.
It is, so a funny thing is like, so when I see lots of pitch deck from the founders, whether they're going pitch deck for like VCs or, for a co-founder or for the customers and the partners and all those things. And one thing I'm looking for is like, is there a competitor slide? Do you know who your competitions are? Because that tells me like you have done your research. When you're going in, like what you have to look out for. And to be honest, you need to have that secret sauce, right? Like if you have your product, and this question, and when I talk to founders, there might be 100 of small startup companies, there might be big players in your similar space. But if you have done the research, if you know what your product, your value prop, your ICP is, if you know all those things, you can stand out. There's no stopping, right? When we have great examples of the Lyft and the Uber, right? Now they are both competitors. No one thought like, oh, I can't go into the market, right? When Slack came in, Slack was only developed for developers. It was only, when once they launched now, and they saw that, oh, developers, we are not getting that much traction. That's when they opened up for everyone, right? That's when
Yeah.
now everyone is using it. So there are a few things that they have to learn as they go.
Absolutely. And what you shared reminds me that for many founders, there will be a point where they need to pivot because of this research that they're doing or decisions that they've made. And I've spoken with a lot of founders who have said that, where they've had to pivot not once, but even a few times. I mean, last week's episode with Erin Peterson from Emmy, she shared that her company pivoted 5 times. And so that's what I'd love to pick your brain on, is like, once a founder realizes that they do need to pivot, whether it's with their product or go to market strategy, what advice do you have around that with pivoting? Because I feel like at this point, for most founders, it's almost inevitable that you need to change course in some way.
You do. I love this. Like today morning, as I was saying, one of the founders asked this question because She pivoted like 5 to 6 times in 6 months, and which is fantastic. Fantastic in a way because she was doing the testing in the market and realizing I'm not getting the results that I wanted to, so I don't have to keep on going. Let me shift my strategy, right? So pivot, right? And it always so okay, a couple of things. Founders really need to decide for themselves, like a roadmap, right? How long, let's say 3 months, right? If they want to talk in 3 months, they have, I'm just going to throw some hypothetical numbers. They're going to talk to like 1,000 customers, right? And what kind of customers or people they want to talk to? Are they achieving those, right? If they're not, if they wanted B2B, but they're not getting any responses, do they need to shift to B2C or marketplace? What does that look like? You thought like your customers are students, but now you're realizing those are professionals.
Mhm.
So you have to go in deeper, because I feel like as a founder you have to go out and do the real gather the real data. What I mean by that is talk to people, try to, I don't know if you have space, go and network. I know it's not easy for someone who's like an ambivert. I'm ambivert. I am like extro plus intro. But if you can get those data points, that will help you when to pivot, right? Someone
Mhm.
asked me this question about how long should I keep on interviewing customers on the different customer segments, right? Like whether it's, as I said, like different profile of the customers, the B2C and B2B, and when is the right time to pivot, right? If you're not getting the results, if you're feel like there is no value people want to get out of it, then it might be not the right product, or it might not be the right feature. You have to pivot, right? You have to change. And I would say, Ashley, it's hard, right? Like as founders, you think like I know all the I wouldn't say all the answers, but we have those assumptions, right? Like I think these are my customers, this is my ICP, this is my target audiences are, or this is my market. But once you go and start talking to people, that's what you realize, that those are not my, like I would give this example. I think YouTube, when they came in, many bigger players, they changed, as I gave example of Slack. YouTube also, when they came in, it was mostly for the dating, like the videos for, like, as a dating profile. But then they realized,
Interesting.
yeah, it's not for them. It's they have to change the course, and now YouTube is like educational podcast, you name it, right? It's for everything you use it. So you have to realize, and Airbnb as well, right? When they started, it was like just focus group. For a year they had no sales, nothing, but then they pivoted, like they're like, okay, let's open for everyone where they can afford it, right? So realizing those early on and pivoting, I think that's will make founders move faster.
Definitely. And that kind of makes me wonder too that I feel like, I mean, founders can do all this research, have all the data, the information to guide them, but sometimes I wonder if like maybe you don't actually know the right direction you're supposed to go in until you actually get in the weeds. Like you can think that you know like the right direction, but once you actually launch the company, have the product out in the world, like once you actually have that real experience, then that's when you might realize like, actually, wait a second, maybe I do need to change directions.
Yes, I have, tons of examples about that when I talk to founders, where what you initially thought was not, at the end it's completely different product, right? It's completely different. So I'll just give a quick example of this founder that I was mentoring. So she had fantastic founder, super talented, great idea to solve the problem, and they had the product to, it's a video game for elderly folks where they can log their medication, right? So it was a health
Mhm.
tech app. And a couple of questions. I'm like, elderly people, they need to know how to operate the technology. So that's, something. And they had this video game. And if they're trying to go into the hospitals, if they want the hospitals to use it, um, it's going to be very tricky, right? The hospitals would not know how, the, train the elderly people. And that's why it's very important. When I started having those questions, the founder was like, oh, wait, yeah, now as you're asking me these questions, I'm realizing like how they're going to use it.
Mhm.
Elderly folks will need training, and, they will not know how to use the product. So you would not even get, there's a barrier to get the customers on a platform, right? So asking the right questions, having these conversations, I think really will help. And I gave her exercise to go and really talk to the elderly people. So
Mhm.
I think that helped to her to move in the right direction. So when she started talking to the elderly folks, senior people, senior citizens, she realized that they don't want to use it. Like, if I want to take the medication, I can just take the medication and that's it. I don't want to log on the phone. So I think once you really put an effort and question your own assumptions or your own product, that will give you the right directions. And I would say it doesn't happen like in a day or in a month. It will take time. And I would say the founders have to be a little patient, right?
Mhm.
One thing I would say, other example, I saw this, I was talking to this founder, and the founder did not had any target audience. So they had 10 different, they are talking to like 10 different domains or industries, I would say, like healthcare, fintech. And they were like, we're just going to go and talk to people and see, what we're going to get. I'm like, that's great. But do you know, so they had the solution, but they were trying to find the problem where, right?
Mhm.
In that case, it will, yes, you will understand, but then you're just trying to explore how long you're going to do that, right? How long you're going to be talking to different 10 different domains, 10 different industries, and figure it out, right? So that way you need to find one industry, one path, and then try it out. And if it doesn't work, to your previous question, then you have to pivot and find something else where it will stick.
Yeah, I love that advice. It's like being able to take it almost one step at a time, but also I think staying with it, because like you said, kind of stick with it and then understand if it's working or not. Because sometimes I wonder if founders are almost too quick to pivot, where they almost don't give enough time or don't have enough patience to actually let the product see it through. It's like they want immediate results, but I think taking some time to actually give it the room it needs to succeed, I think is really important.
It is really important, like, when founders have an actual product, right? And the trend I've seen, once they have the product, right? Like, let's say they have the web app or, mobile app, founders, and now everyone is taking like, I want AI powered product, I want AI powered feature, and that's great. Use it, but if someone is going for the VC investment, they're going to ask you like how you're using AI, which is great, but how it's actually helping your company, right? So that's the question they're going to ask you when you're going to invest. But to your point, the founders really have to think, if my product is working, what one or two things customers really love, right? So those are the things you want to keep on developing. They
Mhm.
might have 5 features, but you might see the customers are only using 2 features out in your product. That shows that's the real revenue generation, or customers are staying on your product because of that, right? I would say, like, sometimes founders forget to take the feedback from, not forget, I would say, but it's very important on early stage. If you have like 100 customers, um, I want founders to think about, like, can I talk to them if it's possible, like one on one with the customers, and see, if they are just using 1 or 2 features, what they really like about that, or if they don't like any, the other 3 features, right? How they can improve. I think
Mhm.
those initial customers are really, really powerful for you in early stage, because they're going to help you shape your product, your features down the line. They are the one who is investing in you, and yes, you can make it freemium and all those things, but taking the time and really understanding and then pivoting. And to your question, some founders pivot too fast. They don't give the product a chance to really see the traction or see what's working and not working. And you may ask, like, what is the right time? How do you know, like, it's a too early or too late? If you have your product ready, let's say, you have MVP launched and you have your product ongoing, then the next step comes in, like, do people know about your product, right? I have
Mhm.
seen founders, they have the products already. They have, like, 4 to 5 paid customers, or like unpaid customers, but then they just sit back and they do nothing. I'm like, you
Mhm.
need to, that's when the marketing and the branding comes in. That's when you have to let people know. Unless you don't do that, people will not know, right? You have to convert. That's when only you will know that when I have to pivot, right? If you're going to sit and let your product work for you 6 months, you would not know you're going to pivot or not, right? I think the organic growth and word of mouth initially, when you are putting your product out there, is really, really important for founders and the builders.
Yes, I love that. And on the topic of product, so in addition to being a startup advisor for founders, you also are the chief product officer at Boston New Technology. So there might be some crossover with that, but I'd love to hear more about A, what Boston New Technology is, and B, what your role is for it.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I come from the product background, and I love, launching the products. I've launched different kinds of products in healthcare and video platform, different industries. At Boston Technology, so Boston Technology is a platform, I would say, for technologists, because I come from tech, so I want to bring the
Hmm.
tech, whether you're engineer, developer, or someone who's trying to get into tech or the product, because I think tech and product goes hand in hand. So it's a community for product folks as well. Someone who is into, we are bringing like, designers and marketing folks. So we want to help. So you can think of like it's a platform for the founders plus the product folks. So how it gels, right? For example, when someone, I have like we are like 70 plus 70,000 plus community
Oh
here
my
in Boston. And
gosh.
yeah, so it's a bigger group, and it's that's the reason we have like product and engineers, we have marketing, we have first time founders, serial entrepreneurs, investors. So it's everything, right? And now the goal is like how we can gel this all together, right? We want to so just to give an example, last year when we did the startup weekend, there were folks who are first time engineers. So they were like from first, I mean, entry level engineers, I would say, first time founders, and some were like looking for jobs. They started working together and they built that relationship, and then we got some success stories. People reached out, they're like, hey, by the way, I found the job because I met this person. So we are trying to do different things, I would say, with this. Like, someone is looking for jobs, someone is trying to pivot or change their career. I changed my career from being neurosurgeon to product to tech to startup. So, and as we're talking about Ashley, the startup, right? And I'm super fascinated. I'm so interested in the startup ecosystem. When, as a founder, and there are like solo founders, right, who are non-tech founders, and they're looking for someone who is a tech. So we're trying to like how they can find, because it's not easy. I was talking
Hmm.
to someone yesterday itself. Last week, and they were like, I have this amazing idea, but I'm not a technical founder. I want someone who is gonna work well with me, right? Who is as invested as in me, right? At early stage, you're taking chance. So we're trying to build that. And product, right? You need someone who can guide you. I was at Code and Coffee on Saturday to talk about the startup weekend. And actually, they were like 15 to 20 developers in the room. They had amazing ideas. I was like asking them, they came all, so I was doing like a simulation. I'm like, okay, let's do a quick simulation of what actual startup weekend is going to look like. um, Engineers themselves, they came and they pitched the ideas. I was amazed, how much talent they have. But then now they need someone who can help them to actually build this and make into execution, all that. That's when the product folks come in. So that's what I'm trying to do to build. As I said, I'm also co-president at ProductCamp Boston. So I'm bringing those product executives and leaders and connect with people who need it. So just trying to build this ecosystem all together.
Oh, I love it. And let's talk about Techstar Startup Weekend more because it's right around the corner. And so I'd love to hear what it is, why you like what made you want to lead it, what it offers, all of the good stuff.
Yeah, so this is I think it, as like I've been a startup advisor to students and underrepresented founders, female founders, first time founders, and also different stages early in growth. And I think what I've seen is like when I talk to them, and this came because when I talk to people and they're like, I have this idea for 2 years. I have been thinking about this idea, and I don't know what can I do with it, and I don't know what the next steps are. And I was like, you don't need to know everything, right? If you want to start a company, I think one of the things people are scared of, like they feel like they need to know everything before they start the company or startup, right? They have an idea. So I was like, Steve Wilkes, who's my co-organizer at Techstar Startup Weekend, fabulous person, couldn't have done without him. So the reason behind it, last year, as a lead organizer, we had 350 people to 400
Oh
participants
my
join
gosh,
in
that's
with,
incredible.
yeah, 3 days, and we have 21 startups came out of it, and it's industry agnostic. So someone can build a startup on fintech, health tech, ed tech, prop tech, you name it, right? It's open for everyone, right? It's whether you're a student, mid-professional, you're retired, whether you're in product, first-time founder, serial entrepreneurs, engineer. It's open for everyone because last year we had people coming in from Australia, from Atlanta, from Chicago, from London. So it's not just in Boston, but we want to create this platform where people can just come with an idea
Mhm.
and they will form a team, and they will work on that raw, like new idea in 3 days to an actual startup. They're going to go and talk to the real customers. They're going to learn how to build the prototype. They're going to learn what it means to work in a startup, what it means to be a startup founder. So everything within 54 hours, you can think of like squeezing like couple of years work as a founder. You will be learning everything and doing everything in real time in 3 days. So that's what Startup Weekend is, which is on May 1st to May 3rd. And when I see that, Ashley, to add on more, I've seen 21 founders. They did not stop there. The startups are still ongoing. So some of them are in the raising the money stage. Some of them are having like customers on there, like paid customers. So it became a real startups. It's not just like stayed there and done and dusted. So super excited to see how the innovation is growing.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I think is one of the most impressive things about Startup Weekend that you have helped build is that exactly what you said. It's not just a 54-hour project. It's like these people who come and participate are building companies and startups that are continuing long after that weekend. And to your point that you made earlier in this episode, just watching relationships come from this, like co-founders being able to come together or meeting people that can help get to jobs. Like, I mean, for you, it must be so gratifying to see these long-term effects and outcomes come from just 54 hours in one weekend.
It is, like you brought a great point. So on Friday, actually last year, people came in, right? Like on Friday night. So it's two things, right? If you have an idea, just go and pitch the idea, right? And if you don't have an idea, you can join someone else's team, right? So we had people came in last, on Friday night, and they were like, I don't know, I'm scared. I can't go and pitch. I don't have an idea. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, don't worry, you'll learn within 3 days. And they actually worked in the teams, and on Sunday night every single person came. They were like, this is what we needed. Thank you
Mhm.
for doing this. This is created, like, now I know what startup world looks like, what and how to create the startup. So when you hear those things, when you hear people were like thinking about doing something but they did not have the confidence, they were scared, they thought like you need to know everything. But when they leave the room knowing that, oh, I can do this, it was not that scary. I think that's why I'm like, I want to keep on going. Let's do it again. And how we're thinking, I would say, to put it in, like, it's a hackathon meet Shark Tank, meaning we're also trying to show that, like, how, if early stage, if you have fabulous ideas, if there are, as you were saying, right, VCs, some of them are interested to invest in you. So there's so
Mhm.
many possibilities that can happen within like those 3 days and onwards and afterwards.
Yeah, I love that. And so, on that subject, I'd love to hear for anyone who's listening to this episode who is an aspiring founder or even a very early founder. What advice would you give to them?
So that's a great question. Don't be scared. I know it's scary at the moment, whether it's technology or whether believing in your idea. I would say take chance.
Mhm.
You don't have to know everything. Even if you do, if you feel like I don't have skills, so you don't need to. You can learn. I'm still learning. Everyone is still learning. We are still figuring it out. Take that chance. If you don't take that chance, you don't want to, like, what if I've done that, right? Um, I would say make mistakes. Second thing I always tell my mentees, be go and ask stupid questions. There's no stupid questions. I would say
Yeah.
ask those questions that you always felt like. Do three things that scares you every week. So I tell my mentees, do three things that scares you every week. That will help you grow, right? Put yourself out there and learn. You can be. When I started, Ashley, I was introvert, right? When I started, I started going to the events, and I was like, I don't know who to talk to. Like, how do I even network? Like, all those things I was learning, and I would stand in the corner, and I would not know. But it takes time. I learned along the way. So you will learn along the way. You don't have to know everything, and believe in yourself. I would say third, the last thing is, if you will, as a founder, aspiring founder, you will hear lots of no's. You will hear
Mhm.
you will get lots of rejection. But, and you might have heard this is cliche, but you need to change your mindset. If you take those no's and your rejections as something that will direct you to the right directions, that will, if you take that in mindset, you will move much faster. So example of the founder from Canva, now I think every one of us use, For 10 plus years, she got no, from 20 to 40 plus investors, she got no, she got rejections. But can you imagine, like, for 10 plus years, saying, getting rejections and still ongoing? And that's where the patients come in, like, have that belief, conviction in yourself, and then people will follow you.
Hmm. I love it. And now this question might be a tough one for you because you know so many people, but one of my favorite questions to ask our guests is to give a shout out to someone in tech that they're really admiring right now. So it could be a founder, could be VC, another community builder or consultant, but would really love to hear who you're feeling inspired by lately.
So I would really like to give a big shout out to Brian, from who's the CEO of Startout. I love how he's creating the community of LGBTQ plus globally, right? So I love how they bring together so many founders from different places, whether they're in tech and product and everything, right? They have first time founders and to, like, founders who have raised from $1 to $5 million to more than that. So I love the work that they've been doing to build the community. So that's one. And the second one is, like, definitely Steve Wilkes from Boston Technology. I have seen, like, how tech and how data savvy he is. Everything that he does, he goes by the numbers. He pulls the information from the actual data and he shows the results. So last year, I would say, the startup weekend we did, he did the whole data analysis on that, and he saw that we had 302% growth from the previous startup weekend and different kinds of segments. So I really love when people can show the information with the data. So those are my two, pick from the work that they've been doing, the tech and the community.
Love it. Good choices.
Yeah, thank you. It was, yeah, it's like so many other. I have so many
I know, it's
other
like, how can
choices.
you narrow it down?
I was like, yeah, so many other that fantastic people are doing fantastic work, and I think that's what we need, people
Mhm.
to really put and bring the tech community together and do things with the innovations and make things better.
100%. Shweta, this has been such a fun episode, and I've so enjoyed having you on the show to share the many roles that you have and the many hats that you wear. And I'd love to have you share with our listeners where they can find you online in case they'd like to connect.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ashley. I have so much fun. This is great conversation. And if folks want to find me, I'm on LinkedIn, just Shweta Agrawal. I'm also on Twitter, just like the handle is Shweta Agrawal itself. And yeah, you can find me at Boston Technology itself. And if you're coming to Startup Weekend, which is on May 1st, come see me and say hello. But yeah, thank you so much, Ashley, for having me today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shweta. This was so great.
Thank you.